Okay, part 3, the law of magnetism, the magnetism principles with KarenLoveLee. This episode has several moving parts to it. Um, so the podcast, The Power of Self-Evolution. I created this podcast to raise levels of consciousness to override the number one invisible dream killer, fear. So we are up to, I want to talk about, we've been dealing with the fear. You asked me about self-confidence. Self-confidence is created from nothing, and it's first you need to understand why you didn't love yourself in the first place. But the quick, easy answer to this is every human being on the planet is whole, complete, and perfect as they are and as they're not. Whatever we believe about ourselves are lies, and our perceptions, and they're lies in terms of, if you think great about yourself, keep that. But anything disempowering, anything negative, anything that's where you feel you're not good enough, or you don't matter, or you're not valuable, or your existence isn't important, that's all a lie. If you're here, you have every right to love yourself, be loved, and to have all your dreams come true. Period. End of story. I believe it's your birthright. Anything negative that you believe about yourself is BS. It's a lie, and it's all based on perceptions. And then you think it's real because the brain ties it to objective reality. So what you got to do is work on really loving yourself unconditionally for no reason, and you never have to justify it or prove it to yourself or anybody else. And again, I'm going to say, the first thing you could do for yourself, and the only thing you need to do for yourself, is to unconditionally love and accept yourself for all that you are and all that you are not. And I'm saying, even if 8 billion people on the planet hate you, who cares? As long as you love you, that's all that matters. And you don't have to go out and prove it and tell everyone you're so great. Just if you believe it, as a matter of fact, people will sense that energy, and that's how you're a magnet. Is the more you love yourself, respect yourself, and hold yourself in the highest regard and esteem, then people will pick up on that energy, and you can't get rid of them if you wanted to. It's counterintuitive. They only want to be around you because you're so, you source such a powerful energy, and you're humble, and you believe in yourself. There's nothing more attractive and magnetic than a human being who loves himself from within and never has to prove it. They just believe it, and that energy vibrates and radiates outward. Do you understand that, Suzanne?
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Boom. There's that. Drop the mic on that one. Woo! So So here's the thing. You're going to be clear in your intentions. And I want to talk about, you can have a dream board, a vision board, whatever you want to call it. You can sketch it, draw it, generate it digitally, make graphics for it. Here's the thing. I never, ever needed a dream board or a vision board because I am extremely visual and imaginative and a dreamer. That part of me, I just have the picture in my mind. I know exactly what it looks like. Every now and then I can take a picture to go, oh yes, more specifically for myself. I do save things. I do cut out articles and pictures and those kind of things, but I don't necessarily have to have it in front of me. Once I have an image of something, I just store the image, etch it, tattoo it in my brain, in my mind. So if you want to paint it, draw it, write a song about it, whatever you want to do, have at it. Whatever works for you. You don't have to have a dream board, because I'm going to tell you the truth. I've rarely, if ever, used a dream board. I see the picture, I memorize it, I etch it in my mind. I don't know what you call that. I have selective memory. I only remember the things that I really care about and that I want to remember. That's how my mind works. Okay, so whatever you want to do there, again, do what you feel works for you in terms of being clear as to your intention. And if you have to write out the list, if you have to, I have done all these things, by the way. So maybe that's why I don't need to keep doing it. Like, once I do it and I've experienced it, I memorize it, and there it is. Okay? And then if I know something based on my intuition, I hang on to it and I never waver.
Okay.
Never waver. Okay? And then again, I've also worked with, if I don't get it, that's the biggest part of this. We'll get to it in a moment. You can't be attached to it. So is that clear, Suzanne? Any questions on the point of no dream board? Be very clear. Set your intentions. Belief with no evidence. Okay. Hang on. Sorry. I have to say this before I forget. Here's the thing with dreaming, believing, having big dreams, even if there's no way it'll ever happen, so you think in your mind, like rationally, logically. For instance, wanting your 10,000 square foot home and you have no money in the bank.
Mm-hmm.
And you've never bought a piece of property in your life, right? Go ahead, dream big, want the castle, the mansion, whatever, and never have bought a house before. Dream that. Have that as your dream for no reason. Because here's why. If it never happens and it never comes to fruition, but you die with that magnificent dream, you can never lose. You understand that?
Okay, no.
Okay, so in other words, go dream big. Do all these things, manifest it, take the actions necessary. You understand? But I'm saying, let's just say your dream is to have a 10,000 square foot mansion before you die. And you're like, someday I'm going to have it. Here's my dream board. I've done a portrait of it. I've sketched it all over the place. I put it up on my Facebook. I've done this, right? And you just keep dreaming about it. I love it. You're happy. The energy's there. And then you're dead and it doesn't happen. Who cares? You were happy all along the way. You can't lose.
I love that. Okay. Much more clear. Thanks.
All right. So there it is. Like people say, no, I need to have evidence. You have no money in the bank. Okay, whatever. There are the other steps to really actually, be able to hang up a portrait or a painting in your own 10,000 square foot mansion with a hammer. There are other things you got to do, but we're talking about merely having the intention first and the dream. Okay? And believing in yourself, believing in that it works, not caring about the evidence, blah, 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 the power of manifestation. There it is. Dream big. Now, you can't just go to the Olympics with one coach and just focus on one aspect of the sport. Right? If you're an athlete, you have all these other aspects. They all play together. They all work together. They're all tied to one another. So let's not, be ignorant about this.
Mm-hmm.
All right? So then, because do you see, Suzanne, I'm telling you the basic principles to be a powerful magnet. And now you got to go out and train on each one of those. Does that make sense?
I see.
Yeah,
yes.
It's like a business.
Mm-hmm.
You want to open up a brick and mortar business, you got to learn a little bit about the real estate, taking out the lease, buying the building. Then you got to work about the managing, the finances, the stocking the products, the SKU numbers. Do you see how much there is to know?
The marketing. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Now, you don't need to be an expert in all of those. You need to have the basic premise, pick your niche, and then team up with the rest of the people to help you. The team, the dream works when you have the team.
Yes.
Okay. So now, the next thing, right, we're talking about believe, fear, self-confidence, and now we're talking, let's talk about the action part.
Okay.
Right? There is action in that. So if we have an intention, so let's take an example. Well, let's see. Okay, let's hit my real estate example. My dream ranch. I couldn't just dream about a dream ranch and not make an offer on a ranch. Right? And drop a contract and submit it to the listing agent. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I wanted a dream ranch. I knew I was going to have a ranch. But then I took action. I went online and I looked to see, and I have my real estate license. It is still up to date. I'm not practicing actively real estate now, but I still have my license and it's in excellent standing, and I'm going to keep it because I worked really hard for it. But I said, okay, I want a dream ranch, and I need to go see what properties are for sale. So then I'm like, oh, I go on the internet, I'm looking, I'm like, only 2 came up, and I'm like, oh. Then I trusted myself. I didn't care what people thought. I didn't care if people thought I was crazy, and I didn't care that I had no money in the bank. I didn't care about all those things. I just said, oh, I'm going to go look at, let's see, there are 2 for sale in the area. And I listened to my intuition. I trusted myself. And I said, I'm going to go look at this one. So I drove over, called the listing agent, and I took action. You see, I went and looked at the property.
Mm-hmm.
And then oh God, this is a beautiful story, is that I knew that I needed 6-foot fences for any ranch that I wanted, because I have a gorgeous black stallion that I manifested from nothing that I still have today. And when he was boarded in Malibu, one day I had him in the arena and he was running around. He was happy. And the next thing you know, I look over and he gallops and whing right over the fence, 3.5 feet. He flew right out of the pen, out of the fence as a stallion into the barn to go play with the girls, the mares.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, oh my God, when I buy a ranch, I remembered that. And I said, when it came time to buy a ranch, I have to have 6-foot fences so my beautiful, gorgeous, giant black stallion doesn't jump out and go try to breed the mares. And so that was a specific detail that I would not compromise. So what I did was, right, we take action. Oh, I'm going to go look. I didn't let anything shut me down. I didn't let anything stop me. I didn't let me not having any money in the bank stop me. I don't know. I just said, okay, you know what? I'm just going to go look. And so I went, picked one property. The listing agent didn't even show up because she knew I was a licensed agent. She said, I'll give you the code. Just go on in and take a look and let me know what you think. I said, okay, great. I put in the code. The gate opens. I drive down the driveway, and to my left, what do you think I see?
6-foot fences.
A line of 6-foot fences throughout the entire property.
Wow.
And that the previous owner had Irish jumping horses that are about 16, 17 hands. They're some of the tallest horses ever. And everything was built for these giant jumping horses. Boom. And that was it. I looked to the left. I said, okay, we're done. And I knew this was it. So, again, I'm basing that on being so clear, having done this my entire life. But I will tell you this. I knew what I wanted. I knew what I wanted. I was crystal clear. I knew what I wanted. And that's why I knew in that moment, and I trusted myself. I said, boom, 6-foot fences. And it was all set up that way. I knew there was no other property. It would be virtually impossible to find another property with 6-foot wooden fences.
Mm-hmm.
And they were white, and I wanted white.
Oh my goodness.
Uh-huh. So then action counts in terms of, right? Okay, do you get, like, you physically have to do things. I had to drive through, I walk through, you got to do, and I know the process of real estate. You got to submit an offer, you got to tie up the property. I did all of that.
You got to have financing.
Well, I put that as a contingency. So this is a really great story. I'm not going to get into it because it could go on, but I will just tell you the basics. There was a loan contingency. I represented myself. You don't do that with your own personal properties that you want to buy in general. I beat out an all-cash offer. Again, I will tell you how I did that, not in this podcast. And I had no money in the bank. And so the answer is I tied up the property. I got it where I wanted it. And then I went and raised the money. I went and got the money after. So that takes action, and that takes an enormous amount of self-confidence and self-motivation.
And belief.
Because
if you didn't have money in the bank and you did an all-cash offer, that is exactly going back to podcast number 1 on this subject, is you have to believe without evidence. And you didn't have evidence in a bank account that you were going to be able to give an offer.
Yeah.
But you knew to tie it up to give you the time so that you could go manifest that.
Yes. So I beat an all-cash offer. I beat out an all-cash offer. That's huge. Meaning there was another offer on this property and they were willing to pay all cash. I didn't have all cash. I had to go get a loan. And I was able to manifest a loan and a huge down payment. I went and then raised my down payment. That's how I did it. But you're exactly right, Suzanne. Mm-hmm. It was because the only reason why I was able to do this was because I had so many experiences and practices of manifesting things from nothing based on my experiences. And this is the time you want to represence all of that. So the only reason why I was able to continue doing it with complete and utter infinite blind faith is because I kept telling myself, Karen, you can do this. You keep doing it. You've been doing it your whole life. And you did it this time, this time, this time, this time, this time, this time. Every time it got tough, every time I came up against an obstacle. And I'm telling you, this was the escrow from hell.
Okay? So it wasn't just no action, and it wasn't without some complication, but you were still able to move through those.
Yes, based on my ability to persevere and not take no for an answer and not want to settle and keep telling myself you can do this. You've done it over and over again. And then only talk to those people that believed in you or at least supported you energetically and never put you down. Very few people, the only person who put me down over and over and over again and always killed off everything that I wanted to do and be in the world was me. That's the thing with me. I had very few people say you can't do it, right? But I had the worst person of all and the most wicked, devilish person on the planet constantly telling me I couldn't, and that was me, because I came from massive self-hatred and self-loathing. So the only person, so people, not everybody, most people don't have that. They actually have people supporting them outside of them, and they kind of like themselves inside. Right? So you got to look at your situation and work with it. Mm-hmm. I was very fortunate. Very few people ever said, you cannot do this. The only person was my mother, by the way. She was the only one, but most everybody always told me you can do it. If anyone could do it, it's you. So that was great. But usually what would stop me is me. So because I had this ability to go, okay, Karen's mindset, you can do this. Okay, Karen, that's what was helping me. And by the way, I manifested this ranch well before I was into transformation and the work that I do now. So I have to tell you is because of all the times I started early on in my life that gave me the wherewithal to keep going, the perseverance, the determination. You've got to tap into your determination from your past, especially your childhood, 19 years old and under. Go back. I'm telling you what to do. Go back and list every single time you have succeeded. Every single time you have thought you wanted something and it showed up. Every single time you said, okay, I'm going to go do this, and you did it. That's the homework. That's how you have to keep this in play. Do you understand that, Suzanne?
I love that. Thank you. Yeah, I love your steps.
Yes, and that's what will help you and keep you going. And you have to be willing to fail and to F it up and to fall flat on your face. If you're not willing to F it up and fail and be booed off the stage metaphorically, then it's going to be really tough to get what you want and to manifest.
So you were willing when you put the in to not get it, that you were going to go for it because you knew that this is what you had dreamt of and were magnetizing into your life. And yet you were willing to also go in and know that it may not happen or it could get screwed up. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes, I would say that now. Right? You absolutely have to believe that. Now, if I think back at that situation, I wasn't as proficient as I am, of course, today at that. But the one thing that was able to override it was I said, I believed and I knew intuitively this was meant to be mine. And I clung to that. Mm-hmm. Now, there are times I can't say for sure that I said, oh, if I don't get it, I'll be okay. I'm going to tell you that's what hurt me. And that's why I say it today. We're going to talk next about that attachment. Is I was attached to it, but I was able to override it with my knowing and my intuition.
Okay.
Okay?
Yep.
So,
yep.
In that experience, looking back, I use it as a training ground. And I saw what didn't work through the process because it was, like I said, horrific, the escrow. I had to get a second appraisal. It didn't meet the first one didn't meet the price, and it was under. I didn't have the self-esteem to renegotiate, and I tried to, but it wasn't there. So I took everything that didn't work and recalibrated and reformulated. So now, if I had had me coaching me back then, I would have said the biggest thing that got in the way was I was attached to it. In other words, I wanted to win. And I didn't have that peace of mind and heart to know if it wasn't meant to be, then it would be okay.
Got it. Okay.
Okay. It wasn't conscious.
Okay.
So now that I know this and I know how to deal with attachment, I'm going to say this is the next biggest piece. It's like a sandwich. The first piece, dream for no reason, blind faith, don't expect any evidence, don't focus on the evidence. And then the fear is in the middle. And now here's the third piece. You cannot be attached to it at all. Meaning, you can't use it to define you and your self-worth in any way. If it works, great. If it doesn't, great, not meant to be. You have to be willing to go in. If you want it to be easy breezy, if you want to be all crazy and stressed and drama, then go ahead, be attached to it. I'm telling you, don't, because that's not worth it. Especially as we get older and we're going to die anyway. You don't want any piece of worry or stress. It will show up in your body and in your energy field, and it will botch things up, and you will create more havoc for yourself. Do you understand that?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And you'll send out a vibration of drama, and you're going to get one drama piece after another. You're going to worry, disease, dis-ease. The body's the unconscious. Anything that you don't consciously deal with and heal will show up in your body as disease, dis-ease, illness. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And so now the attachment, and this is the part where when I'm saying attachment, meaning my definition of attachment is using someone or something else to prove your worth outside of you. That it defines you in some way, and if you don't get it, you don't have it, you're not with that person, then you're not good enough. That's what that means. So the attachment is I needed to have this ranch. But I was attached because I had children, horse children, that cannot live inside a house or an apartment or a condo. They can't walk upstairs. My children needed a home. So I was attached to that. Meaning I was feeling like if I don't get them their house and my stallion his fences, I was going to be a bad person and a bad horse owner. It was going to define me as being not good enough in some way, in some level.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I'm saying is if you find yourself attached to something, you're merely attached because you underneath it all are using it to prove the evidence, use it to prove by having evidence that you're good enough. Does that make sense, Suzanne? This is big.
It's huge, and I've never heard it defined this way. And I've studied detachment, and I've been told that is an element and very important for me. But hearing your definition of it does help it go deeper because I have a better understanding of it. So I'm working it through in my mind. So feel free to keep talking about it.
Yeah, well, people believe this is one of the biggest crappy secrets of all, is that human beings are trained early on unconsciously to believe everything outside of themselves, everyone and everything outside of themselves defines them and their worth and their value and whether they matter or not. Meaning, this is why, especially men, they have to make a lot of money to provide for their family, because if they don't, then they're not good enough. They're not worthy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and that's carried on, and that's a stigma around being a man, being able to provide for his family, right? But the freedom lies in never caring if you have the money or not. Your intention is, of course, to have it, but understanding it in no way, shape, or form defines you. It doesn't make you any better or any worse. Here's the perfect example, my favorite example. Let's ask Steve Jobs how that worked for him, where his power prestige was defined by the money in the bank, the innovation, being the first, iPhone, being the second iPhone, being all of this stuff never defined him and made him feel good because he was pretty miserable. It was very obvious the way he treated himself and people, and then he died prematurely of, guess what? Disease, dis-ease.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I believe to be true is human beings think they're real estate. They think they're their money in the bank. They think they're the woman or man on their arm. They think they're their children. They think they're their horses. Meaning, if I have a stable of hybrid Arabian horses, I must be somebody. No.
Or their car, or
exactly.
Their big house.
Exactly.
Yep.
Now, the good news on that is I was raised in wealth. I was raised as a very privileged person. That's why I love my story, is because, I was depressed, suicidal my entire life. Underneath it all, I hated myself, I hated all human beings, and I hated the world. And I did not want to be here. And yet I had everything on the outside. A decent family, mother and father who provided. They never hit me, never hurt me, never molested me, nothing. And yet, how am I to be seriously depressed and seriously suicidal my entire life, and angry and difficult? How is that even possible? I don't know. Meaning, I can't use it as an excuse. Poor people will say, or people who don't grow up with money and privileges, oh, well, if I had money, then I'll be happy. If I'm rich, then I'll be happy. Most of the wealthiest people in the world came from poverty, from nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So that's how I know. The point is, I thank God I know and came to the point where nothing, no amount of money, no amount of marriage proposals, no amount of men in my life, no amount of success, prestige would ever make me feel good about myself. That's what we're talking about. And that made me go, oh, okay, if that's not going to work and I can no longer define myself by my circumstances and everything outside of me, my external conditions, then where am I to feel good about myself? And that's learning how to love ourselves without defining ourselves with anyone or anything outside of us. In other words, don't use anyone or anything to prove that you're worthy. Period. That's what that's about. Does that make sense?
Love it. Mm-hmm. Very much.
Okay, boom. Here it is. So now, here's the best ingredient of the manifestation process and the magnetism process. Is that once you are set and everything else is in play, you've dealt with the fear, you've dealt with the trusting, you don't need the evidence, there's no attachment, and you're like, okay, if I get it, great. If I don't, great. It wasn't meant to be. Something greater is on its way then. So you're all there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then, guess what? The last piece is, forget about it. Put it away. Put down the vision board, take it off the vision board. In other words, metaphorically speaking, don't care. Every time I've ever manifested something is when I didn't care. I was and I call it temporary amnesia effect, is I forgot that it was even on my vision board.
Mm-hmm.
I just believed, and I just let it go. It's really just letting it go. And staying present in the right here, right now, as to what I'm dealing with, what I'm working with. Oh, I got to go to dance class and teach the recovering drug addict women how to dance today. Oh, I got to feed I got to clean the bunny cages. Oh, I got to go to the networking event. Oh, I got to, call my clients. Oh, I got to reschedule. Oh, I got to do this. You see that?
Mm-hmm. So you do your daily life, let it go.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big.
I know. I don't need it. Like, if I don't get it, it wasn't meant to be. And it never will or ever has or could ever define me in any which way. So the power lies in having $1 billion in small unmarked bills in your bank account and not care. I mean, you want to care like you don't lose it and you invest it well and your money managers aren't stealing it, but it in no way, shape, or form defines me. Whether I have $1 in the bank or $1 billion in the bank. I can be happy that I have $1 billion in the bank, but it doesn't make me any better or worse than the next human being. That's where the peace comes in. The freedom.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's amazing. I'm sitting here in amazement. I have few words because this is the amazing part. But yes, go ahead, keep talking.
So I want to talk about that because my greatest fear from the moment I was conceived, and I didn't want to come out. I came out screaming bloody murder, by the way. And my mother said I cried every single day. She couldn't stand it. And I would cry at the same time of day. That's really crazy. Okay, but my biggest fear before I started this transformational work and journey was that I would die unhappy, unfulfilled, and have no peace. That was my biggest fear. I would die unhappy. And my life would have no meaning. Okay? Yeah. So cut to, again, that pivotal moment I already shared about. There was also in the same breath, this is probably why I had negative $74.82 in the bank. I owed everyone and everything. I almost lost everything. Okay? Oh, including the condo I was walking in, I lost to foreclosure. And it had equity in it. But I didn't care. I did not care. It had like almost $100,000 equity in it. And I lost it. Because I wasn't making the payments because I was fighting for my life. Because that condo never defined me. The equity never defined me. I wanted happiness. That condo with the equity never made me happy. So why would I care if I had it or not? To this day, I do think, I wish I could have tapped into that equity, but I wasn't meant to. Because I knew that even if I got $100,000 out of there, it wouldn't have changed anything for me on the inside in my heart. Okay? Wow. But it was when I had negative $74.82 and change. But I remember the 74 specifically. It was negative $74 in my bank account. And that's what kind of triggered me to go, wait, I really got to assess my life. It's not working. I don't have any money in the bank, no money coming in. I don't want to do real estate, even though I was profoundly, massively successful in real estate. And I was pretty much self-taught, by the way. I don't want it. I don't care. But that negative $74 made me go.
Listeners,
yeah, go ahead.
Your listeners have this question. How were you massively successful and still negative 72?
No, previously in my real estate career, I had been successful, but the moment that I was fighting for my life coming out of a suicide attempt and I was depressed, then it started to go downhill. You weren't doing
real estate at that moment.
I didn't want to do it anymore. I was done, but I didn't know what else I wanted to do.
Okay.
Because I was in this crisis that got triggered out of my sister dying.
Mm-hmm.
Right? If I couldn't help her to want to live, and this has been over a decade that I've been trying to help her deal with her drug addiction, her sex abuse, her alcoholism, and I couldn't help her. So why would I even care about having a house? When all I wanted was to save my sister's life. Like, she was more important to me, and if I couldn't help her, then why would I even want to stick around? And then if I don't want to stick around and I want to be dead, why do I need a house? And why would I even want to work when I'm depressed and miserable and keep living? Like, that's just ridiculous, right? So it was that negative money in the bank, but here's my point. My point is this. Most people will define themselves by a negative bank balance and think I'm worthless and I have no money. No, it was complete opposite and counterintuitive for me. That's why this consciousness work is so profound. Because it was in that moment that I made all the connections, understood the fear, understood that I need to venture into the unknown, understand why I was the way that I was and what led up to it, understanding that the way I was doing things wasn't working. And then I realized how to make it work, what I needed to do, and take those risks. Then I will have a chance to get exactly what I wanted, happiness, fulfillment, purpose. That lit my life up. And in that moment, I said, oh my God, I'm happy. I have peace in my heart and I feel fulfilled because I made all the connections. And I was no longer defining myself by anything outside of me. And that was it. And I even said to my friend on the phone, I said, you know what? If I died in the next second, I'm good. I got exactly what I wanted. In other words, that negative $74 in the bank was irrelevant. It was what's relevant was the energy of me going, oh my God, I'm happy. I get it. I connected all the dots. I have the answers and solutions. I know how to override the analytical mind and, better yet, fear to really get what I wanted. Have everything now externally, and not care about it, not be attached to it, and underneath it all, have purpose, meaning, happiness, and fulfillment. Bam. That's what did it for me. And then I rebuilt from there based on the happiness, the fulfillment, and everything that I understood and created by understanding the mechanics of the human mind and understanding how to override it and understanding how to build and hardwire self-worth, self-esteem, self-confidence back into my brain. And here I am today.
Wow.
So, what we're saying here is that feeling of not caring and forgetting about it. I wanted a black stallion my entire life and I totally forgot. And then he showed up when I least expected it. Every single thing showed up when I least expected it. The tub of love, by the way, I wanted it every single time. Been to 5 secret knocks, and every single time I'm like, I'm going to win, I got to win. And here's what I was attached to. I don't want the things, you get all sorts of things. I wanted a flat screen TV this time. I won this amazing $5,000 wooden bicycle. That was probably the biggest prize I've ever seen in 5 secret knocks. Like a tangible, item, okay? I didn't want the tub of love for the stuff. I wanted it for the incredible business services being offered to build my business, to fulfill upon my divine calling, purpose, and mission in this lifetime. That's what I was attached to. The business services to get my message out, to stop suicide, human trafficking, child sex trafficking, domestic violence, sexual crimes and abuse, and drug addiction. That's why I was attached. And you know what? Sorry, if we were to justify anything, my reasons were probably the best on the planet to win the tub of love. If anyone had the best story and purpose to win the tub of love, I'm sorry, it was me. Wouldn't you agree, Suzanne?
Yeah, absolutely.
Nobody else I know is fighting for the healing of child sex trafficking, drug addiction, right? And I'm talking in secret knock. As great as those people are, very, very few people, Suzanne, I hear background noise, very few people are dealing with the things I'm taking on.
Mm-hmm.
Pedophiles, child molestation, rape, domestic violence, massive drug addiction, and suicide. Bam. So are you following me, Suzanne?
That's a huge population that you are wanting to offer guidance to and
okay, but it's the worst one. Let's just say that. Sit still. I hear too much noise in the background.
I'm not moving.
Okay, there's something going on. Okay, good. So stay not moving. So what I'm saying is I was attached to winning the tub of love because I have so much to prove through healing all this crap in the world. And the moment I let go of the attachment to use that to prove my worth and my raison d'être, my reason for being, I was able then to not care. Can you hear me? Okay, so I just lost her, so we're going to stop this one and move to part 4. Woo! So I think we lost our connection there, but I am really saying that this attachment messed up my flow, and I was shutting down winning the tub of love, or winning what I wanted to win, or getting what I wanted. That's all we need to know. Who cares about the tub of love? I didn't get what I wanted, and that's because I was attached, and I needed it to prove my self-worth. And then that is the very thing that I believe kills off this ability to magnetize from nothing with the least amount of effort. So stay tuned for part 4. We will be right back. Thank you so much for listening. This is exciting and super excited. I'm just so happy that you're all listening because this is one of my favorite subjects on the planet.